let's get started. Thank you everyone for joining so much. I'm going to really quickly share my screen here. Hopefully everyone can see that. Len, let me know if anything's off a little bit. All right, so this is
good.
Okay, perfect. So this is technology and the visitor experience, understanding visitor identities and how you can use technology to enhance your visitor journey. Thank you so much for joining the session. The session is recorded and is going to be available on the NDF YouTube. So you'll be able to watch it there if you miss anything. And we also will have Q&A after. So feel free to put any questions you have in that Q&A box, and we'll get to those at the end. So just to introduce myself, my name is Genevieve Hauck. I'm the Marketing Communications Manager at STQRY. And I'm going to pass it over to Teina Herzer, who's going to go over her position and why she's on today. And then Len's going to take it from there as well.
Kia ora koutou. I'm Teina Herzer. I'm the Digital Engagement Manager at MOTAT, which is the Museum of Transport and Technology based here in Auckland, New Zealand. And I'm also the chair of the NDF board. So NDF is the National Digital Forum, which is an organisation based in New Zealand representing the GLAM sector, whose mission is to guide and gather the digital thinkers of the cultural sector.
Cool. Kia ora, everyone. And I'm Len, and then I'm with STQRY, and I'm based in New Zealand here. And then sorry for this interesting background, and I'm currently traveling in Queenstown and for supporting the tourism economy, but I'm normally based in Auckland. And then my role with STQRY is I look after the Oceania and the Asia market. Cheers.
Thank you, Len. So just a little bit about STQRY. So before we kind of go over our topic today, I'd like to just give a really quick overview. STQRY is a storytelling platform that helps visitors explore further and engage more. What we do is kind of like DIY apps, location-based tours, mobile and web apps, audio guides, games, online collections, and as of recently, we did just launch our kiosk product. So anything that's interactive in that museum, etc., we just launched those as well. So that's really exciting. But I don't want to talk too much about our product. I want to talk a little bit more about digital experiences and technology as a whole. And by doing so, we really wanted to give a broad overview of what the visitor experience looks like and how it can be impacted not only by digital solutions, but by just kind of the setup of the museum, or essentially how you portray that information when people walk in. So identity in the museum visitor experience. So this is based on the book, and I don't know if some people have read it. I know some people have, some people haven't. It is a great book just to describe visitor experiences in general, not just museum experiences, but anywhere where you're going to find visitors or that's a tourist destination. This can really just be used to help kind of craft your idea of the experience and the journey and what people are going to see. So John Falk is the founder of the Institute for Learning and Innovation. He is one of the founders of like that free choice learning kind of contextual model. And we're going to go over that today and just kind of discuss what types of visitors you're going to see at any visitor destination and how you can reach them in new ways. So understanding the visitor experience. So there are 5 visitor identities in Dr. Falk's contextual model of learning, which is explorer, facilitator, experience seeker, professional and hobbyist, and then the recharger. The explorer is someone who likes to learn new things. The facilitator is someone who's maybe taking their child, maybe it is a teacher or someone who's a mentor taking someone to a museum. Then you have the experience seeker, who is someone who's trying to, maybe they're on a trip, a tourist destination, they're trying to check something off their bucket list. They want to see this museum or see a specific exhibition. And then you have the professional, someone who seeks advanced knowledge and deep inspiration. They might be writing a book. Maybe they're just someone who's studying, or like it says here, redesigning a home, etc. And then you have the recharger, who comes to the museum for peace. I know sometimes people go to learn. I'm someone who also likes to just kind of walk around and take in what I'm seeing, but also take in more of the environment of the museum. And it, for me, is a very relaxing experience. So I think I'm more of a recharger / explorer type. So just to go over the actual museum experience cycle, this can start from before someone even steps in the museum, right? This is when someone decides that they want to go to your museum or they want to experience exhibitions that you have to offer. This could be facilitated through word of mouth, recommendations through others, or past personal experiences. So throughout this model, you see, okay, someone decides to go, they're now choosing to visit the museum to satisfy certain needs, whether that be based on those 5 personalities that I portrayed, and then using the museum in a way that allows someone to satisfy those needs. And then how does someone remember their visit, and were those needs satisfied? And then based on those needs being satisfied, or based on my visit, was it a memorable experience, and am I encouraged to revisit? So this cycle plays into those 5 personalities, like I mentioned, because how someone approaches this model, how someone goes through the museum or decides they're going, or how they remember that visit, is going to be based on those different sets of needs. And not everyone's needs are going to be completely the same, but it is going to be based on one of those 5 personalities, essentially, is the method of thinking here. So in the contextual model of learning, there are 3 factors that can play into specific behaviors. This is a personal context, physical context, and sociocultural context. And personal context can be prior experiences, interest, and choice and control. So this is where we'll see that free choice learning really play a part. Who learns best when they have choices and when they have kind of free will to move about an area or learn ways that fit them best. And then you have that physical context, which is who's organized it, orientation to the physical space, architecture and large scale environment, designing of exhibits, and that could also be, if there's interactive displays in the museum, etc. And then you have the sociocultural context, which is just kind of group interactions and social interactions. And that's how those kind of play in, and how people move together within this space. There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So what makes an experience memorable for visitors? So now that we've gone through how people kind of approach a situation or approach an experience, we now have to flip it kind of on the museum, or on the visitor centers and what they're doing, and kind of take it from, okay, now what can you do to approach these personalities and these behaviors and make it a memorable experience? So some of these are, like I mentioned before, free choice learning. So choice and control visitors experience have over, or exercise over their experience. So do you have docent tours, but also do you have self-guided options as well? Just to kind of elaborate on this, I will sometimes do a guided tour, but I also am someone who more is like a free choice learner. I love self-guided options. I like to take my time, but I also like to sometimes go back to pieces and circle back and learn a little bit more on my own time. And then you have the emotional nature of the experience, and then the context and appropriateness of what visitors encounter in a museum. I'm now going to pass it over to Len, who's going to go over a little bit more on how technology now can be used to improve that visitor experience, and how technology can be used to facilitate with those 5 different types of personalities.
Cool. Thanks, Jerry. Thanks, Genevieve. It was a really interesting visitor behavior, actually. Bit of background about myself is, actually, I studied tourism management at Vic University, Wellington, and then last year moved to Auckland. So actually one of the favorite courses I start when I was studying is actually visitor behavior, because to understand our visitors is very important, so that we can make sure they have a really good experience. And also nowadays, especially with digital, is about visitor-centered design, or user experience-centered design, rather than us as a storyteller. And then especially my background is actually in tourism, and in for the last 5 or 6 years I worked for Wellington NZ, so which is Regional Tourism Organization, and before I joined the story just 3 months ago. And then and then also the reason I made the change, or the reason I decided to join Story, is actually not only I love technology, but also I see that our sector and the glam sector, also the tourism sector with the wider sector, is definitely needs more support, and then capability building in the digital and then the digital and the technology space. And till I found Story. Sorry, next slide. Oh, I was going to change the slides and realized not my control. Yeah, and then also I love to have a conversation. So for those of you who have joined us and then ask us any questions while we kind of presenting, and then also you can ask me why I got this very interesting background. And also for digital technology, and then the topic on site, it's very wide. And also for all of you who maybe in different roles in different museum or different organizations, digital technology means different thing for you. And on-site digital technology means different things as well. And then the topic sort of the recently I discovered as actually is more for the sustainability reasons, because how many of you actually still give out print brochures and to visitors when they visit you? Because you know, something like that, it's been going on for the last 20 or 30 years. But as actually, you know, even doesn't matter how sort of recycled paper you use, but still, and a compute for a visitor or a more interactive experience for wayfinding, and the technology can definitely bring that experience to a different level. And then also COVID, the last 2.5 years, 3 years, ruined a lot of other museums and lovers' life, but also for social distancing, and also for how to say, and for different experience, because for virtual when the museum's not open, but also once, you know, we still want people and the visitor to come back, and then once they are back, are there something new, and then or quiz, or you know, more interactive features there for different visitors. And then also, you know, for your marketing or sales team probably will have a lot of reservations or ticketing, the system that are all integrated, because from a visitor experience design or the whole journey, and then we want them as smooth as possible. And also once they finish, and then there's a right platform and right place for them to leave a review, for example. And then the next slide, please. Thank you. Not really following all the bullet points, but also I think after on-site, also off-site, because for what people remember about their experience with you on-site or off-site, you know, and then they, for word of mouth, if we want them to recommend to people, and then there should be always something there, apart from taking a brochure away, you know, take them with them, but also there should be a channel, and also the technology or the digital experience can definitely help you, well, help the operation or the visitor experience when they actually want to discover more or explore more off-site. And also with more current technology that allow them, you know, remote learning, it's not new for anyone, but then the new level of remote learning is because you want to enhance your physical expression with your digital experience, and also, and then the offsite experience, I guess post visit, it can be also part of your whole visitor experience as well. Yeah, but again, I didn't go through all the bullet point, because every museum or every use case is different, and some of them are more important than others, especially for your use case. And also, it's for digital. I mean, for a long time, especially in the tourism industry, people say, "Oh my God, technology is gonna take my jobs." But now, actually, everybody crying for staff, and the staff shortage is hitting the industry very hard. And it actually now technology can help you with the, you know, sort of address some of the issues, but at the same time to help you with your current digital transformation project. And then it's definitely not a replacement, because Kiwis, and then the whole world love Kiwis hospitalities, you know, manakitanga, and then with technology support, our guys, our hosts, and can still, you know, do what they're good at the same time with technology support them as a whole part of the storytelling. And also, like we studied the visitor behavior, not everyone's you know, extrovert, and when you go on a group tour, there's always some chatty ones, ask a lot of questions, ask the guides, but doesn't mean the ones who are not asking questions don't want to hear a story or don't want to learn more about the story. Yeah, so it's more about using technology, and then let technology help your storytelling. And then also like, for example, accessibility, because that's kind of the key feature that story platform when we design, and when we're helping you to design your channels or tools, we do take accessibility into consideration a lot. And then, because again, we want to make sure your story is accessible to everyone. And we might move on to the next slides, Genevieve. Thank you. Maybe there's a delay. But also, and when I talk to a lot of people, especially my a lot of tourism operators or the, not of the experienced design team, but more of the sales marketing, because for any sort of digital transformation project or digital technology project, you need to bring all different stakeholders involved, because even just for one exhibition, but also, as a part of the visitor journey, you do need to think about a lot of questions, for example, the main purpose, and also maybe for different teams, for your sales team or for different, for the marketing team, the purpose might be different for the same project, and also you do need to, this is more of a, outside of the technology, and you do need to have a strategy on this. And then also for your content creation, because not all the organizations have the ability and the capability actually to produce your own content. And then also there's a cheaper version, or there's a free version of content production, but also a more advanced, I guess, levels. And also other questions, for example, that, have a clear timeline, because we know how, sometimes the team start a project, and then when the people leave, or the project and then started suddenly to change, or the direction changed, or the purpose has been changed. So it's about, when you're starting a new project, do involve all different stakeholders at the same time, and have document them at the same time as to pass on the ongoing trainings, because it's not a one-off project. And also for something like digital technology is, something I learned from STQRY is actually the technology changes every day. And then so do your strategy, your plan also needs to change to cope with the new technology, because with the visitor, they coming to your site and it was the newest iPhone or newest device, and is your storytelling as capable, or as if their devices are actually able to kind of maximize your storytelling skills. Sorry, I need a glass of water. Next slides, please, Genevieve. Yeah, and also another topic I want to bring is, because when I talk to a lot of operators or project managers, actually, for something like the cost of technology, it can be very different. And also it's to bring your whole, to think about your whole project, because for example, story, that's not the only cost of your project, because you definitely really need to look at your existing, digital access or your content. Are there any ongoing development also, and then new content production need to be considered? And also for adding, more accessibility features, for example, New Zealand Sign Language tools, or audio sign language, or audio guide tools, or, for, as now the borders are fully opened, we're going to welcome a lot of international visitors for your multilingual abilities, because it's so important that you want to share our story, not just with the communities, but with all visitors who have decided to visit us. So there's a lot more consideration rather than just adopting a new tool, a new technology, this is why kind of we want to bring, ask us any questions for your current project or any, new project that you're planning on, because we don't want to be a tool provider or solution. We want to be part of your project and then do the brainstorm with you together. So yeah, I think that's my last slides, but I'm definitely based in New Zealand, so feel free to contact me on any questions. And also with me, a bit more tourism experience, and I definitely love to help you with your project or upcoming projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Len. So moving on, I just wanted to go over some conclusions before we go into Q&A and kind of hear a little bit more about Teina and Len's experiences, both with the visitor experience on the museum side and also on that tourism side. So just some conclusions to think about. The one size fits all experience provided for visitors by museums does not work equally for all visitors all the time. So it's just good to keep in mind that when you're thinking about your visitor experience, you're incorporating, guided tours, but maybe some self-guided options. Like Len mentioned, languages, any way that could kind of help someone learn in a museum or at a destination. Just kind of keep that in mind when you are doing programming, exhibits, and tours. And then just time to innovate a little bit. So in order to educate in new ways and to reach new people, you need to implement new strategies. And, it's been, especially, I guess, with the US, but I also studied over in Europe for a while, and I really pushed kind of that technology side of things because for, someone like my sister's age, 22, for example, she really does learn better with technology and with her phone and just having more digital options for learning. So if you want to reach younger generations or, generations that are now growing up to be these museum visitors, you need to start to learn to educate in new ways and be open to these digital solutions and kind of augmenting your current traditions or your current visitor experiences. And then self-guided options are not a replacement for guides. I always like to talk about this because, like I said, I'm super clear about I'm not really a guided tour person. I want to be, but I'm not. I'm a self-guided person. So I like to kind of come at it from that way. I always tell people if someone's going to take a guided tour, they're going to take a guided tour. If they're going to take a self-guided tour and there's someone who wants to learn on their own, they're going to do that. And there's really, sometimes there's an in-between, but I normally find that you're a guided tour person or you're a self-guided tour person. So it's not replacing docents. I actually like to discuss getting docents involved in the process of creating your self-guided options, whether that be having them record themselves for some audio clips or just kind of, maybe taking videos for you or photos. And they also provide two different emotional experiences. So if I'm taking a self-guided tour and I hear this, fantastic voice actor that sounds like, they're from the, 1940s or something or earlier, I feel like I'm in the story. I feel like I'm getting kind of a background view of what's going on, or maybe you can find someone who sounds like an artist essentially. And that's more of an emotional experience. However, then you have the other side of things where docents are very passionate about what they're talking about. They're very passionate about their topics. They're very passionate about the institution. And as they're guiding you through, they're going to add their own little anecdotes. If you have a different docent every single time, you're going to have a different experience every single time, which is kind of the beauty of it. And that kind of goes for those self-guided options. So self-guided options, you can have, video, 360 images. You can add things in there, especially with audio, that kind of provoke that emotional response and make it memorable. But you can also do that with guided tours. It's just nice to have those two options for people who are, someone like me who wants to learn self-guided or someone else who wants to do guided. It's also really important to know, and as we go through this whole presentation, that you do not need to be an affluent, large, or modern museum to implement digital solutions. We've seen museums that are a staff of one person launch something within a week, and we've seen a museum of 200 employees launch something within a year. It really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. We kind of tell people to start small if you do have a smaller budget and build on that over time. That's also why we tell people, make sure whatever digital solution you're working with, whether that even be at STQRY or another company, make sure you can update it easily and it's maintainable. I know I used to work at museums and there was always something that needed to be changed in wording or a new exhibit, something that was a traveling exhibit or just a seasonal exhibit, etc. And that's where you're really going to want something that you can maintain yourself. You also have, copyright and IP, etc. So being able to own your content for arts organizations or visitor destinations is incredibly important. So just something to think about moving forward. If you have a small budget and you're not sure if you can launch a digital solution, like Len said, we're more than happy to have a conversation, whether that, you sign up with us or someone else or decide maybe it's not for you at all. We're always open to brainstorming and discussing what your pain points are, what your needs are, and figuring out maybe what digital solutions work for you. Sometimes we don't have the solution and we tell people that right up front, but a lot of times we do, and we are able to help smaller institutions. So just something to keep in mind moving forward. I am going to move over into some Q&A here. And I have some questions, Len, for you and Teina. And I'm also seeing here that we did have a question on captions on the video. It is a Zoom limitation for us, unfortunately. I wish we had it on Zoom. So I'm just gonna make sure that the recorded video that goes on YouTube, we're gonna put captions on the video and make sure that's all set up for anyone who wants to watch that later on. All right. So feel free to put any questions in Q&A. I feel like I answered the other two here, just that were about the captions and chat. And I do have some questions myself, and I am going to stop sharing here. All right, so I guess going over to you, Teina, I want to hear a little bit more about your current roadmap for your digital engagement strategy at your museum and how that's kind of developed over the years.
I'll try and keep it brief. It's quite big. So I guess we have taken an infrastructural approach. So when I started a couple of years ago, we decided then to do our first digital strategy, and the approach we took was definitely about setting up systems that play nice together, and we're going to limit each other. We're going to limit what we wanted to do now, but also in the future as well. So we were focused on establishing, collections online and content management systems, CRMs, everything that had an API, so that we knew that we could, in the future, was whatever we wanted to do, we could get them talking to each other, and we could do different experiences, different front-end experiences with them. So that's really the main kind of crux underlying the whole technology, I guess, of the digital roadmap. And then, everything's about enhancing that. Thank you, Claire. That's about enhancing the visitor experience. So yeah, we use Vernon, we use Contentful, we use Shopify. So really robust, well-known systems that play very nicely with a whole bunch of other things. Now we are we've got all that set up. So now we're looking more about personalization, creating a more personal experience, like really leveraging those experiences and leveraging what people expect when they come on site. So we know they've got devices, we know that they want to play and interact at MOTAC. So we're looking very much at that. How do we personalize it through the digital? And my personal favorite is we're trying to gamify everything. So how do we turn your MOTAC experience through digital into a game that you can take home and keep playing somehow? So yeah, that's exciting for us.
That's interesting, because I do remember you saying that you work with a lot of younger age groups at MOTAT. So I like to hear like that gamification of it, because I really feel like that's how you do engage like those younger age groups, is everything's gamification. Could you elaborate a little bit on that gamification, or how you interact with those younger age groups when they come into the museum? Oh
yeah, sure. So I'm really lucky because MOTAT is a family audience. We're very much focused on family, and that kind of means we let the children, we make it a place for the children primarily. So we make sure they've got a whole lot of agency and freedom and permission. We ask a lot of open-ended questions, and we encourage the children to explore and discover. And so a lot of the time we're developing things for the kids to drag the parents around with them. And that's just, that is a really successful formula when you're dealing with children. It's really their place. I think we've done a lot with trails. Kids love badges and things like that. So trails and rewards, and we're moving more and more into those being digital as well as paper. And then the other thing that we're just trying to get right, because it is a real challenge, is creating experiences that can hit the intergenerational audiences. So, the grandfather that might be bringing the kids, can we create an experience on a screen that's going to serve his interest as well as the pre-reader, which is a big challenge, but we've been making some good progress in that area. So
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's nice to hear that you are like digitizing those badges and stuff. We get a lot of inquiries about badges, which we're always on our chief product officer, and we're like, the people want badges. They want them. And he's like, they're coming, they're coming. And I'm like, okay, because we're just trying to give the people what they want. And it is badges and quizzes right now.
yeah, I mean, I say kids love badges, but we have quite a few, couples wandering around, running around the museum trying to find the next badge. So yeah, universal.
And do you use digital solutions for like wayfinding, or is that more of just like a paper brochure map?
That is actually something we're looking at the moment. So we've had a recent accessibility audit, and we know that our wayfinding, we've really flagged that as something to improve. So MOTAT, for those of you that don't know, is a geographically larger museum. So we are spread across 2 sites, and I can't off the top of my head tell you how many buildings, but they're 2 distinct sites linked with a tram. So wayfinding for us is possibly more of a challenge than for a normal museum where it's all contained in one building. So the challenge is not just a design challenge, it's also funding. It's also quite an expensive site to put wayfinding around. So digital is very much top of the list. Like, how can we provide wayfinding that is everywhere on the site at once, in people's hands, and also can put up with our very, we have a lot of events, and public programs are constantly activating the site. We have steam trains running, we have trams running. So we need something that can be constantly keeping up with our schedules.
Perfect. We did have Claire ask a question. Any tips on keeping momentum and developing new content, thinking specifically in an environment where there isn't necessarily an owner or development of digital tours, like a local council, for instance, or a university? I guess that's kind of.
So do you want to answer that, Len, or shall I?
You're muted. I got
it. Maybe you go first. Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's all right. Yeah.
So we try and have a forward schedule of content production, 12 months in advance. So we try and have quite a what's the right word, well organized schedule of content based on our exhibitions, based on our programming schedule, also based on what's happening in the neighborhood in Auckland, and that helps us keep the momentum up when it comes to developing content. We also have a content team, which has been really useful, because what it means is it's not just one department creating the content. It's actually monthly this content team, which pulls in people from collections and marketing and digital, exhibitions, public programs, and education. We all get together and we actually hash out, who wants to do this, what are we going to do? And so you've got almost like a magazine production running in the background, a publishing house running in the background here at MOTAT for the digital content. So that keeps the momentum going, and it's really good to have a good digital content producer who's a bit of a whip cracker as well.
Yeah, and also it was really good. And then just a recent example is actually I work with a local community who want to develop their community's content and then make it into a digital tour. And then for example, and then they use university students, and actually they work with the universities and work with sort of even the school kids, actually helping them, and then to develop some of the content that they actually never thought about that could be turning to a storytelling, a story that's, more, and then, I would recommend is engage with your audience as well, and then get them inspired at the same time. And then, same with the marketing, because the user generates content at the same time as let your audience help you. Maybe there's some interesting content that, not necessarily cost you a lot of budget or time to actually develop. Yeah.
And that's an interesting take on it too. And Len, I did want to ask you, in terms of the visitor experience in tourism, like you had mentioned earlier, people were kind of like, oh, well, technology is going to essentially cannibalize my job. It's going to take it away. It's going to eat into, my actual employment, just because they think that if people do self-guided tours, they're not going to need guides, etc. Could you elaborate on kind of what you were seeing in the tourism space and what you're seeing now?
Yeah, definitely. The tourism industry, I mean, the last couple of years kind of made the industry realize we're so far behind in terms of technology or adopting new technology, or because before COVID, the tourism industry in New Zealand especially was, the life was way too good and everybody was so busy and then look up to the visitors. They actually haven't thought about the future, the long-term strategy on, like, and Teina mentioned the content management system. Not many actually, you'd be surprised, not many tourism operators actually have a proper content management system. And then, or for the user of visitor database, they don't even have a CRM system. So those sort of behind the scene technology, it's so important for the daily operation, which is thanks to COVID in a way that made a lot of operator realize, okay, I need to do this. And before the visitors, before the summers, I get too busy again. And also a lot of those kind of stuff, it's actually, you can't see. So for example, like doing invoices, like a lot of tourism organizations are tiny and, they small organization operators, and then you'd be surprised that actually, I think it was 2019, and then I still see some operator do paper invoices, handwritten invoices, which is so out of fashion. And then, and also recently talking to maybe actually Te Puia, and one of the attractions, for example, every year they produce so many different brochures in different languages, and every time design those sort of things, and every time there's a wrong print or there's something wrong, they had to burn everything, and then so cost them actually $100,000 to do those sort of things, and then half of them is still in the ship container. So now they realize, okay, we don't want to just to digitalize, what the visitors can see or what we can see. Also the behind the scenes stuff to support them, have a really good content management system, and then change it when they can, and then feed it straight away to all visitors while they're here or before, they're about to come, or, after the visit. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's quite a few areas. So, but sustainability and those sort of innovation and then accessibility is kind of the key topic. Why making the tourism industry, adopting new technologies. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that we are seeing that too in a lot of like the museums here in the US, is getting rid of a lot of like the paper maps and etc. and all that stuff, and kind of digitizing as much as possible. Which is just made easier if it's on someone's phone, or if you have equipment or hardware that you can do that on. I don't see any other questions coming through. I always like to ask everyone and put them on the spot a little bit. And I also like to ask here because in the US, it's just so much different in terms of museums being able to enact like these digital solutions, because they're all so private, it's all privatized. Whereas like when I was in Europe, it's like if I want to enact a digital solution, I have to go through, A, B, C, D, all this red tape, and it's going to take me 5 years. And I'm hoping that changed a little bit with COVID. I don't know if it changed that much there, but it's also obviously very different in New Zealand as well than in the US. Teina, what do you see, I guess, in terms of the future of the industry? Do you think that it's just going to keep going right toward this digital path, essentially?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I think it's really exciting times, because everyone, museums, tourism, education, we've all, because of the pandemic, had to take this big digital leap. So things that could be kind of put in the too hard basket by leaders and governance and boards and whatnot kind of couldn't for those 2 years, because the doors were closed and all they had was digital. So that's really changed the conversation and shifted the focus. And so at NDF, now that we've recognized that what it's done is it's created this this great opportunity that we do need to take advantage of. We do need to make sure that we don't fall back. And so some of the organizations, like the bigger ones, and I'm sure the privately funded ones, are in a reasonably good position, and we're in a reasonably good position to make that transition to digital, to still reach the audiences, and to to get put out even more experiences to share their collections, etc. The funding was there, the streamlined processes were there, etc. And some of that, we saw that a lot in New Zealand as well with some of our larger national organizations. We also saw the opposite though, where the smaller, less well-funded organizations, the 1 to 5 person organizations that are, they've got incredible collections and incredible stories to tell, they just don't have that same digital capability. And so there's that risk going forward that they're going to just fall further and further behind, and fall out of step with audience expectations, and just kind of lose their voice, which would be a real tragedy. So we at NDF are very much focused on how can we encourage leaders and funding bodies and boards and cultural organizations, how can we encourage them to really invest in digital, keep that momentum going, look at how they can increase their skills within their organization, and invest in technology that is enabling, like yours. So it's it doesn't need to be the $100,000 CMS system. It could just be the $100 a month system that lets them suddenly share their stories with anyone around the world. So so that's, I guess, that's kind of from the capability point of view. I think we have such a great I'm going to say it. We have such a great pivot point right now, and we can
That word.
Yeah, but we need to kind of really jump on that, because I mean, with what's coming, the more we have of our collections that are digital and digital ready, that we can feed into these incredible content producers and experience producers that are all coming with the extended realities and whatnot. That's just such an incredible opportunity that I'd love the cultural sector in New Zealand to really be able to get in front of, and just put our stuff out there to reach more people.
Thank you. That, I think that gave a really good overview of kind of where like New Zealand's heading for sure, and of the museum. Thank you. Len, what about tourism?
Well, tourism is a wide tourism, while as glam sector, at the arts and in sectors kind of, when I studied tourism, the first course I learned is actually tourism is an industry, because tourism involves in so many industries, and transportation, hotel, and all linked to each other. But I guess for New Zealand, we're in a really exciting space. It's actually, I'm pretty sure many of you already know that MB is actually working on. So there's 8 industry transformation plans happening around the country, and tourism is one of the 8 industry transformation plans. And then I involved in some of them and some of the workshops, and I'm really excited because digital and technology was pretty much included in every single pillar. And then a lot of the the skill shortage, so many different issues, the industry that we're all experiencing, it's all being well noted. At the same time, those government plans, it's all the the high level, but at the same time, I think it's the support, there's more support are coming. And a lot of people worry, now the border is fully opened, the COVID supports, we're not going to get any more COVID support, but then there's more kind of long-term support that are coming, that are being considered by the government. At the same time, for technology, it's also about education. For me, I shift my career a little bit from the travel trade to technology. Is actually, I do believe those sort of things are going to help in the industry a long time. It's just people, we shouldn't feel scared. Like we like, as an industry, when we hear the word technology, we shouldn't feel scared, because that's happening right now. A lot of people, oh my God, no, but actually, and also educate or share the knowledge with the your colleagues, industry colleagues. Actually, those sort of big and expensive digital technology projects, they are sort of old-fashioned now. It's kind of, because we're moving forward towards the SaaS stage, which is software as a service. you know, and it's actually, you don't need to hire developers or any sort of digital team to help with your digital project. It's like, you know, let the expertise do those sort of boring technical stuff, and then all you want to do is be glamorous and look after your content and make sure your storytelling is on point. Yeah, I think that's the space we're heading, which is very exciting. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I don't think we have any more questions. Thank you both so much for joining today. It was great to hear a little bit more about both industries and learn a little bit more about that visitor experience.